In 1982, Fast Times at Ridgemont High captured teenage America so sharply that it was later added to the National Film Registry. But 44 years later, the faces that came out of Ridgemont look almost nothing like the carefree kids we remember. Sean Penn was once Ridgemont's wasted, reckless Spicoli, but he later transformed into Hollywood's Oscar beast, celebrated by critics while controversy clung to him and never let go. Phoebe Cates haunted an entire generation with just a few moments on screen, then suddenly stepped away from the spotlight, disappearing from Hollywood as if she had never been the most famous fantasy girl of the 1980s. So after 44 years, who rose higher, who vanished completely, and who was changed by fame forever? Let's look back at the cast of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, then and now. Number 1. Sean Penn. When people think of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, many instantly remember Jeff Spicoli, the messy blonde student who seemed to talk as if he were drifting somewhere between smoke, ocean waves, and a joke that never really ended. Back then, Sean Penn did not have to try hard to look rebellious. With his loose walk, distant eyes, and that careless attitude as if nothing in the world was worth taking seriously, he turned Spicoli into one of the strangest teen icons of the 1980s. He was the kind of character who seemed built only for laughs, yet somehow stayed in the audience's memory for decades. Spicoli may have been clueless, wasted, and harmless, but Sean Penn was never a simple actor. What made it shocking was what happened after Ridgemont. The stoner kid who once disrupted the classroom transformed into one of the most intense figures in Hollywood. Sean Penn did not take the path of a clean, likable, safe movie star. He chose heavy, dark, wounded roles, slowly becoming the kind of actor people both respected and feared a little. His 2 Oscars for Mystic River and Milk pulled him far away from Spicoli's shadow and turned him into a true acting beast. But the higher Penn climbed, the harder it became to separate his name from controversy. As of 2026, Sean Penn is 65 years old. At that age, many stars choose to soften, slow down, and stay away from storms. But Penn still carries the feeling of a man who never fully stepped out of the fire. In cinema, he is a major talent, an actor capable of turning pain, anger, and brokenness into a powerful language on screen. In show business, he became the kind of bad boy genius Hollywood has always feared, admired, and mythologized at the same time. But from a social and moral point of view, Sean Penn's story is much harder to sit with. His marriage to Madonna was surrounded for years by heavy rumors, even though Madonna later publicly denied the most serious allegations, saying the stories that Penn had beaten or tied her up were false. That shadow still left the public asking questions. Was it a truth distorted by sensational media, or did Sean Penn's real-life image already carry such a rough, volatile energy that people found it hard to look at him without suspicion? In 2015, Sean Penn secretly met and interviewed drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman for Rolling Stone, while El Chapo was still on the run. The story exploded immediately, not only because a Hollywood actor had managed to reach such a dangerous figure, but because it raised serious questions about the ethical boundaries of journalism. To some, it was a reckless act of reporting. To others, Penn had accidentally handed a massive platform to a criminal kingpin, pushing the victims of drug violence into the background. Penn himself later admitted that the article had failed in its original purpose, because the public focused on him instead of the drug war. That is why Sean Penn remains the kind of star who is both fascinating and exhausting. It is hard to deny his talent, but it is just as hard to see him as a clean, easy figure to admire. The distance between Ridgemont's carefree Spicoli and the real Sean Penn almost feels like the distance between 2 different men. One was the goofy student who made the whole class laugh. The other is a man who has moved through Oscars, politics, scandals, and endless moral debates. After 44 years, the most striking thing is not simply that Sean Penn has grown older. It is that time never seemed to soften him. It only made every sharp edge, every dark corner, and every controversy around him stand out even more under the lights of Hollywood. Number 2. Jennifer Jason Leigh. Stacy Hamilton in Fast Times at Ridgemont High did not enter the audience's memory by being loud. She was not the most rebellious girl in school, and she was not the kind of teen dream designed to make the entire 1980s go crazy. What made Stacy memorable was the very real hesitation of a young girl trying to understand love, her body, growing up, and even the wounds she did not yet know how to name. Jennifer Jason Leigh brought a very different kind of fragility to the role. She did not make Stacy glamorous. She made her believable, sweet, and a little sad. It was the kind of performance that did not shock you right away, but the more you look back on it, the more it quietly hurts. But in real life, Jennifer was not just the quiet girl who stepped out of a teen movie. Behind that silence was a very heavy family story. In the same year Fast Times was released, her father, actor Vic Morrow, was killed in a horrific helicopter accident on the set of Twilight Zone, the movie, along with 2 child actors. The incident became one of the most infamous tragedies in Hollywood history, leading to lawsuits, public outrage, and painful questions about safety on film sets. For Jennifer, that tragedy was even more complicated because her relationship with her father had already been distant. In other words, just as audiences were beginning to know her as a new teenage face, her real life was already being covered by a loss too enormous to sum up in a few biographical lines. Her father, Vic Morrow, died in the helicopter accident on the set of Twilight Zone, the movie, on July 23, 1982, along with 2 child actors, Micah Din-Lei and Renee Shin-Yi Chen. Maybe that is why Jennifer Jason Leigh never really felt like a star chasing easy glamour. After Ridgemont, she moved into sharper, stranger, darker roles. She did not try to become the woman everyone could easily love. She chose characters who made viewers uncomfortable, haunted, and sometimes even afraid. From Single White Female to The Hateful Eight, where she earned an Oscar nomination, Jennifer increasingly seemed like an actress who worked best inside fractured psychological spaces. She was not selling perfection. She was selling instability, pain, and the hidden corners that many other stars tried to cover up. Jennifer's private life also kept the public curious for years, especially her marriage to director Noah Baumbach. The two married in 2005, had a son, separated in 2010, and finalized their divorce in 2013. When Marriage Story came out, many people immediately wondered how much of that painful film had been borrowed from Baumbach and Jennifer's real marriage. The movie was not a direct confession, and Jennifer should not be turned into a character in a story told by someone else. But that connection gave her tragedy another bitter layer. A woman who had quietly lived through heartbreak in real life was suddenly being examined by the public through a famous divorce film, where private pain became artistic material for the whole world to discuss. By 2026, Jennifer Jason Leigh is 64 years old. Looking back, what matters is not just how much she has changed from Stacy Hamilton, but how far she has traveled from the fragile girl we remember. From a lost teenage girl in Ridgemont to a woman who survived grief, divorce, dark roles, and Hollywood's cold curiosity, Jennifer Jason Leigh became the kind of star who does not need to make noise to send a chill down your spine. Number 3. Judge Reinhold. What happens when a face once had enough charm, humor, and screen presence to become a major leading man of the 1980s, but ended up being remembered by Hollywood as someone standing beside someone else's spotlight? In Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Judge Reinhold played Brad Hamilton, Stacy's older brother, a guy who thought he was already grown up but was really still stumbling through work, love, fake confidence, and embarrassing moments he could never take back. Brad was not rebellious like Spicoli, and he was not mysterious like many other teen characters, but it was that very ordinary awkwardness that made audiences remember him. In particular, the scene where Brad gets caught in a private moment became one of the funniest, most uncomfortable, and most infamous scenes in the movie. Years later, Reinhold himself admitted the scene felt humiliating, even though he also saw it as one of the silliest and bravest things he had ever done. After Fast Times, Judge Reinhold seemed very close to a much bigger career. He continued appearing in movies that became part of pop culture memory, like Gremlins, and then truly broke through as Billy Rosewood in Beverly Hills Cop, standing next to Eddie Murphy in one of the biggest franchises of the 1980s. The problem was that once Eddie Murphy became the storm at the center of it all, Reinhold slowly got boxed in as the likable supporting guy, the one who brought innocence, kindness, and comedy, but was rarely given full control of the spotlight. He had the charm of a leading man, but the system pushed him toward being a character actor. And in an industry that is always hungry for new faces, that kind of misalignment can quietly slow a career down. Vanity Fair also noted that after Beverly Hills Cop, Reinhold moved from character actor into leading roles, but vice versa in 1988 became the miss that shifted his momentum in the wrong direction. Reinhold's career did not collapse because of one huge scandal, but that is exactly what makes his story sad in a different way. He kept working, audiences still recognized him, and he still had a place in franchises like the Santa Claus, but the feeling that he should have been bigger than this always seemed to follow him. In 2016, Reinhold was arrested at Dallas Love Field over an incident involving a TSA security screening. He later apologized to the officers and said he was embarrassed that he had let his frustration go too far. By 2026, Judge Reinhold is 68 years old. He is still here, still brought back by nostalgia after returning in Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. But the feeling around him is no longer that of a rising star. It is the feeling of a familiar face being handed back to audiences by time in a softer light. From Brad Hamilton, the young man who thought he had life figured out, to the real Judge Reinhold, a man who once stood very close to the top before Hollywood slowly placed him to the side. His story is not loud, but it carries a clear sense of what could have been. Some stars do not disappear because of one massive failure. They are simply forgotten by the screen little by little, until one day audiences look back and realize he once shone much brighter than we remembered. Number 4. Phoebe Cates. Some stars do not need much screen time to become part of an entire generation's memory. Phoebe Cates in Fast Times at Ridgemont High was exactly that kind of face. As Linda Barrett, she brought a kind of appeal that was confident, dangerous, and unmistakably tied to 1980s youth. Linda was not the character with the most painful story in the film, but with just a few moments, Phoebe became an image audiences could never forget. In particular, the famous pool scene turned her into the fantasy girl of an entire era, even though that same moment also trapped her image in a box that was very hard to escape. After Fast Times, Phoebe continued to be loved through films like Gremlins and Drop Dead Fred. But the strange thing is, the more famous she became, the more she seemed unwilling to be swallowed by that spotlight. Hollywood may have wanted to keep her forever as the beautiful, seductive, dreamlike girl, but Phoebe seemed to choose a different path. She married Kevin Kline, slowly stepped away from the screen, focused on her family, and later opened the boutique Blue Tree in New York. Now Phoebe Cates is 63 years old. In an industry that constantly pressures women to stay young, stay beautiful, and stay visible forever, Phoebe did the opposite. She left the game while people still remembered her. From the girl who once haunted the entire 1980s, Phoebe Cates became a woman who chose privacy over applause, and maybe because she never tried to cling to the spotlight, she became one of the most unforgettable memories Hollywood ever let slip away. Number 5. Forest Whitaker. Not everyone in Fast Times at Ridgemont High needed a long scene to leave a small mark on the audience's memory. Forest Whitaker appeared as Charles Jefferson, a big, hot-tempered football player who almost entered the movie with a raw and very direct kind of energy. He was not the center of the story like Sean Penn or Jennifer Jason Leigh, and he was not built up as a teen icon. But that is exactly what makes Forrest's journey afterwards so incredible. In a movie filled with young faces trying to find their place, he seemed like a supporting character you could easily overlook. And yet, years later, the man once vaguely remembered as the football guy from Ridgemont became one of the most respected actors in Hollywood. After Fast Times, Forrest rose with a kind of weight that was slow, quiet, and almost impossible to replace. From Platoon, Good Morning Vietnam, and Bird to The Last King of Scotland, Forrest gradually proved he was not the kind of actor who showed up just to fill space. He could make a character feel dangerous, lonely, or deeply powerful with nothing more than his eyes and his silence. His peak came when he won the Oscar for playing Idi Amin, a performance that was terrifying, hypnotic, and made audiences feel as if they were staring into a real dark corner of power. People also noted that Forrest Whitaker went from a supporting role in Fast Times to an Oscar-winning career and major roles in The Last King of Scotland, Black Panther, Rogue One, Andor, and Godfather of Harlem. But Forrest's story is not only about success. Behind that calm image, he has also carried private losses. His marriage of more than 2 decades to Keisha Nash ended in divorce in 2018, and in 2023, Keisha passed away at the age of 51. It was not a loud scandal, but it was the kind of sadness that gives his present-day image more depth. A man who played so many powerful figures on screen still had to walk through very human heartbreak in real life. By 2026, Forrest Whitaker is 64 years old. He is no longer the supporting football player who could have been overlooked in Ridgemont. He is an Oscar-winning face, an actor, filmmaker, and activist with a weight all his own. What makes Forrest interesting is that he never needed Hollywood to turn him into a loud icon. He won through endurance. From a small role that was almost forgotten, Forrest Whitaker became proof that sometimes the quietest person in the frame is the one who travels the farthest after the cameras stop rolling. Number 6. Robert Romanus. In Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Mike Damone was the kind of character who made audiences laugh and cringe the moment he stepped into the frame. Robert Romanus played Damone as a guy who always thought he knew more about life than everyone else, scalping tickets, talking smooth, acting like he understood women, while underneath it all he was still immature, selfish, and much more fragile than he wanted anyone to see. Damone was not the most lovable guy at Ridgemont, but that overblown confidence is exactly what made him hard to forget. After Fast Times, Robert Romanus did not become a major star like Sean Penn or Forrest Whitaker. He kept acting, appearing in Days of Our Lives, Fame, 21 Jump Street, and smaller films, but Hollywood slowly moved him away from the center of attention. The interesting thing is, he never completely disappeared. He shifted into a quieter kind of life, making music with his band Papa's Kitchen, once owning Bob's Espresso in North Hollywood, and continuing to appear in independent horror films in more recent years. Now Robert Romanus is 69 years old. From Ridgemont's loud, self-satisfied Damone, he became a face living on the edge of Hollywood memory. His story is sad in a very real way. Some on-screen bad boys once seemed ready to explode into something bigger, but in the end, they remain only as a name audiences suddenly remember, then wonder where he drifted after that summer. Number 7. Brian Backer. In Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Brian Backer played Mark Rat Ratner, a shy guy who always seemed like he was already losing in his own story. Rat did not have Damone's loud confidence, and he did not have Spicoli's carefree attitude. He was just an awkward teenager who liked a girl but had no idea how to get close to her, and maybe that is exactly what made Rat feel so genuinely lovable. Brian Backer did not turn the character into a ridiculous joke. He made Rat feel like a familiar memory of youth, of those nervous, clumsy moments when you wanted to be seen but had no idea how to stand out. The sad thing is, after Fast Times, Brian Backer's path did not open up as brightly as people might have expected. Before Ridgemont, he had already won a Tony Award at a very young age, the kind of achievement that could make anyone believe he was headed for something much bigger. But Hollywood does not always keep its promises to the faces that start out strong. Brian kept acting, appearing in projects like Police Academy 4 and a few television roles. But as the years went on, his name grew quieter, as if the spotlight had quietly moved on to someone else. Number 8. Nicolas Cage. The funniest thing about Nicolas Cage in Fast Times at Ridgemont High is that if you are not looking closely, many viewers might not even recognize him. Back then, he was still credited as Nicholas Coppola and appeared only in a tiny role as Brad's bud. He was not a main character. He did not have a big moment, and he was definitely not the face audiences in 1982 would have expected to become a Hollywood legend. He almost drifted through Ridgemont like a young shadow on the edge of the frame. But after that tiny role, Nicolas Cage's life became one of the strangest roller coasters in Hollywood. He changed his name to escape the Coppola family shadow, then rose into an Oscar-winning star with Leaving Las Vegas. After that came the wild blockbuster era of The Rock, Con Air, Face Off, and National Treasure. But that spotlight also came with a chaotic chapter. Massive spending, financial trouble, and a period where he seemed to take movie after movie just to pay off his debts. By 2026, Nicolas Cage is 62 years old. What matters is that Hollywood never managed to bury him under all that madness. Instead, Cage turned it into his brand. From a cameo so small it could have been missed, he became a star who is brilliant, bizarre, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. And maybe no one from Fast Times traveled farther from Ridgemont in a stranger, wilder, more unbelievable way than Nicolas Cage. If you still remember the faces of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, hit like, subscribe, and let's see just how much time has changed them.